So today we are here to talk about portfolio building. We have Baani with us, who is going to talk about portfolio building and how you can build your resume, and giving us some tips and tricks which she has learned throughout her whole career journey. Just to give a brief intro about myself before we move on to Baani's introduction. So, hi everyone, I am Akanksha. I've been a director with Women Who Code Silicon Valley in the past, and I'm a volunteer right now. I work with Salesforce as a software engineer since past 2 years, and Baani here is my colleague as well. So we work together at Salesforce. This is just a code of conduct slide. For the past 2 years, our community has grown a lot, and these are the latest numbers we have for our digital community. It's growing every day, and it has a lot of resources, and our events are slowly coming back up. So we have a lot of different channels and specialized tech channels as well. If people are interested in machine learning or data science or any other tech tracks, we have those events as well. So please do attend other events as well and check out the amazing resources we have at Women in Code. This is the slide for our mission. It is to bring a sense of belonging in this time of isolation. So we all are here because we have a common purpose. We want to help each other, and we want to take everyone and rise together in this times of difficult economic times. So let's have the sense of belonging and help each other to go ahead. Next is about our speaker today. So Baani here is, as I said, she is a fellow colleague of mine at Salesforce. She has also been with Women Who Code in the Hyderabad chapter. She has been a director there, and she has led many events and also has done other events outside of Women Who Code, and has also won the scholarship, the Google Venkat Scholarship, as a youngest member. So I'm going to, by this quick introduction, I'm going to pass it on to her and let her give a detailed description of what all she has achieved, and then help us with the portfolio building tips and tricks. So take over, Baani.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction.
I'll stop sharing.
You stop sharing? Yeah, I'll take it over.
I see a question from Sam about the recording. We'll make it available.
It will just take me 1 minute. I'll have to rejoin.
Thank you, Jody, for responding on the Slack. I think Baani is joining back. She had some technical issues in sharing. Feel free to post any other questions in the meantime, or any other comments or suggestions you have about any upcoming events you want.
Good again, folks. So just sharing my screen now.
Yep.
And I hope you can see it.
Yes, you can see your screen.
Cool. Hello and welcome everybody. Good evening. And probably it's a bit late for the people who are on the other coast. So welcome to the portfolio building session. I hope you can see my slides and not this thing which Zoom has on the top. We're good. Okay. Cool. So I am Baani, and this is just like a brief introduction about me. I'm currently working as a software engineer at Salesforce. I'm also the director for Women Who Code Hyderabad. And I think it's been over 1.5 years. I've been working with them, conducting sessions, and really enjoying giving back and passing it forward. Apart from that, previously I was the chapter head of Women Machine Learning and Data Science. Just to kind of give a brief overview about my profile so that if you have questions about any of these, I'll be happy to help. This is an open session. I'm here to just be of use and be of service to you. That's my aim through this session. So any questions about any of these, feel free to shoot them across. So I've won the Smart India Hackathon. Apart from that, Google Summer of Code, I was a student developer there. I have fortunately been able to publish 4 top-tier international research papers, including like I was the first author for 3 of them, including a core A-star conference. I have also got a master's in computer science admits from UCLA, Columbia, Georgia Tech, USC, and YU. Before that, I was also like I think Akanksha mentioned, I was the youngest Google Venkat Panchapplication Scholar in 2017. As a part of the retreat, it was the first time I came to the Bay Area, and I was like enchanted by it. And now I'm glad I worked there. So yep. Apart from that, just a few other scholarships which I've won. Any questions around any of them, I'll be happy to answer. And here are some of my social media profiles if you want to connect. Cool. So talking about the topic we have for today. So essentially, we're wanting to build a portfolio. Portfolio consists of 2 parts. Firstly, it's the content, which is your profile. And second is how we present it and create an online presence or an online brand for ourselves. So we'll kind of be walking through the various aspects, firstly, in which you can build or enhance your own profile. What are the different kind of opportunities which are there in open source, which are there in competitive programming, which are there just in general in terms of research internships, how to write papers, all of those things. We'll be walking through them firstly, and secondly, we'll be focusing on how do we present them in a way that it looks really good for somebody who doesn't know you in person, who has just observed your online profile and your online presence. What is the online brand you want to create for yourself? So we'll be going through these 2 topics. Cool. So I think starting with the first one, which is your profile. So what can you do? Like, for example, okay, just to kind of get some idea here, maybe if you can respond on the chat, what exactly are you currently doing? Are you a college student? Are you somebody who's a working professional? Just so that I understand my audience better. Cool. I would love to hear from you. College student. Great to know. Okay. Okay, wow. That's amazing. More power to you.
There are a lot of
That's
kids we have in our Silicon Valley community who are looking for like they'll be looking for career transitions or they'll be looking to switch like from tech to something else. So it's really good combination that we have here of students and working professionals as well as career transitioners.
That's wonderful. Oh my God, that's wonderful. I would be so happy to help you in any possible way. Cool. I think I do get an idea now. So I'll probably move forward and feel free to let me know in case you want me to cover a particular part in a different way in which it can be useful for you. Feel free to shoot across any questions. Cool. So let's head to the scholarships part first. Why do scholarships help? Firstly, scholarships help with the financial aid. But more than that, at least personally for me, scholarships mean that somebody is backing your efforts, your leadership, your technical progress, which is a big boost. At least it was a big boost for me in my journey. At the end of my freshman year, I was fortunate to receive Google Venkat Panchapplication Scholarship, which I mentioned about initially. Um, And I think that just changed a lot of things for me, because it just gave me a sort of a validation, and others the validation that whatever I'm doing is fruitful, and that it's recognized, my efforts are recognized, and they're bearing some good results. What that allowed me with was, it just opened a lot of opportunities for me thereafter. Like, for example, I wanted to research on a topic which was not being researched in my university. And I went to a particular professor asking them that, okay, I want to research in something like AI for social good sort of a thing. And they were like, okay, there is no such track in our lab right now, but I really want you to be in our lab. So why don't you lead the track? It's more like, once they trust the fact that you are capable of leading something, they give you that uh, responsibility and open a lot of new avenues for me. So, and again, it's one of those things which shines kind of on your resume. So it's always good to have. So in terms of scholarship, I think there are various scholarships we have here. We have Generation Google Scholarship, which is, I think, in North America region. We have Google Women Tech Makers Scholarship, which is, I think, throughout different parts of the world. It's a scholarship which is primarily for women. We have Udacity scholarships. Udacity scholarships are really good, especially for folks who are wanting to make a career transition. I think that's a wonderful thing. Like, I've won one of the Women Tech Maker Udacity scholarship that was on Android development. So Udacity has these nano degrees which are there for different tracks. So what this allows you is to cover one of these nano degrees with support from people like, we had regular sessions, like weekly session with Googlers there, who kind of guided us through the Udacity scholarship, Udacity nano degree. And yeah, just worked, had a wonderful community of people who were equally motivated to learn those skills, do the project, coursework, and everything together. So I think definitely, if you're looking for career transition, and if there is any Udacity scholarship which suits your purpose, do apply for that. Then for folks who are interested in research, like especially the college students, there is Adobe Research Women in Tech Scholarship, which is, I think, 10,000 US dollars, if I remember it right. That's again a good amount, plus a good validation, plus a good opportunity to do research. I had a few friends who won the scholarship who got an internship opportunity at Adobe Research after that. So that's like double the benefit. Apart from that, I think there is Nutanix Heart Women in Tech Scholarship. There are Google, and again, one aspect is about the scholarships. The second aspect is about, there are a lot of travel grants which are available. There is Grace Hopper Celebration travel grants. There are Google Developers Day travel grants. I think a lot of different Hopper conferences which happen throughout the US. I think Tapia scholarship also. There is one. So there are a lot of conferences which are especially women centric. A lot of opportunities open up there. Like, they have career fairs. If you're interested in transitioning to a different job, they have career fairs wherein a lot of different companies are there hiring people, especially hiring women with good technical skills. So that's what they're looking for. So if you can get one of these travel grants, which makes it easier for you to get to these venues, that's going to be helpful. And I think there is, even for Grace Hopper celebration, I think there is a travel grant by AnitaV.org. There is another travel grant by Facebook, Google, Yelp, Twitter. Most of these top companies had these grants for these scholarship for these events. So definitely, like, around the time, just keep a, like, what I used to do when I was looking out for scholarships was, I used to keep like a Excel sheet which just tracked previously on around which month did these scholarships open up in the previous year, so that I don't miss on any of these deadlines. So that's just like a helpful hack there, if you want to keep a tab on the scholarship. Cool. Yeah.
A
So
quick
moving
question,
on to
Bani.
the
Uh,
sure.
I want to talk about like how do we search and apply for these? Like how do we know we qualify? Or
Okay.
maybe
So I
share
think
those
on
links. Yeah.
Sure. So on every scholarships page, so every scholarship usually has a page on, like, for example, if I have to talk about Google Venkat Scholarship, which I won, so it has a page on the Google website wherein you apply for it. And yeah, I think they just have a very basic criteria which is written there. And then they say what all you need to submit. Like, you need to submit some essays, you have some coding test after that, you have to submit a video, you need to submit letter of recommendation. It's kind of like a grad school application, a mini grad school application
Yeah.
in a way, without the GRE part. Yeah. So yeah, you just need to kind of fill up on all of those things, whatever criteria they're asking for. And a lot of these scholarships have multiple rounds. Like for example, the first is you apply and then you have an interview with another person. Like for example, in this case, it may be a Googler. It may be like a coding test you have after that. And then that's how they shortlist. Because in terms of the applications, I think it's like more than 6,000 applications come out of which, like for Venkat scholarship, 6 scholars were selected. So it's a really selective scholarship. So that's how they kind of narrow down the pool slowly. Yeah, and I think for most scholarships they have the criteria written there on the main page itself. Like there are some scholarships which need you to be a U.S. citizen. There are some of them which don't have that kind of a thing. So you can find all of these criteria written there itself. And my suggestion is do not ever self-reject yourself. Unless and until you do not meet one of those criteria, then it's a different thing. But if you meet the criteria, go ahead and apply. Because what's the worst thing which can happen? You will not win it, but if you don't apply, you're never going to win it.
Yeah.
So that's what happened to me when I was thinking of applying, whether to apply or not. I was in my freshman year, and nobody before me had won that scholarship. Like most people who won that scholarship were in their third, fourth year of undergrad. So I was thinking whether I should apply. Do I even stand a chance? I need to get LORs, all of those things, and I'm still in my freshman year. Um, and I think there was one senior of mine who told me, like, why aren't you applying? I see that you have a really good profile. Just go ahead and apply. And then I was thinking out loud, like, what's the worst which can happen? Yeah, I'll either learn or who knows, I might win. And if even if there's this much of a possibility of me winning, why not give it a shot? And I think once that happened, thereafter that has been like my mantra. Like I'll just give a shot. Like the fear of missing an opportunity is much more than the fear of failing. So I'm like, yeah, why not? Give it a shot.
That's a good mantra to have, definitely. Like a mantra of the day. One question: Do
Sure.
we have to
Hmm.
like, are these scholarship free, or do we have to pay anything for applying?
All of these scholarships are free. It doesn't cost
We can apply.
anything.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
It's just like give it a shot. Like unlike grad school applications, there isn't any charge for any of these scholarships. So
perfect.
free to apply. If you get it, it's great.
Yep,
Yeah. Even if you don't, you learn through the process.
that's true.
Cool. So the second part of it is open source. Open source is another great, like I strongly recommend open source to everybody in this call. Open source is a way to kind of make your contributions, your coding skills, your coding style, everything visible. So what exactly is open source? Open source is like we have a lot of closed source software wherein, like, for example, you're working on Microsoft Windows, but you don't really know what's written behind it. Now, open source is essentially just making the code open for those softwares. There are some other softwares which are similar to these softwares, which have their code open. Like, for example, Mozilla. Its, co- its code is open for everybody to read, to contribute to, and it's managed by the people from those companies, but in a more of a community way. Like, for example, if I find a bug there in that particular thing, I can just simply raise a PR. PR essentially means a pull request, which means that I can make an edit to the code which is deployed on so many PCs, right? So open source has that kind of an impact wherein whatever you want, you can just read through their code, learn from good coding habits, learn from the community, collaborate, and just work on an existing project. So that kind of hones your coding skills. And for open source, another thing open source helps with is because everything is open, because your code contributions are open, it helps you create a good profile for yourself. Like, for example, all of my contributions are available in Git. So anybody, even like from 5 years ago, the contributions I made during my Google Summer of Code, anybody can go through them and see the kind of code I wrote there. Was it scalable? Was it not scalable? Everything stays. So that's kind of helpful when you're wanting to build a good online presence. So that's another reason I would recommend open source. Now, by open source, I don't really mean that you fix typos, but that's a good starting place. We have, I think it's November now, but usually every year we have Hacktoberfest, which is pretty good, a pretty good point for everybody to start. That's essentially like if you make some small contributions, we have a fest where all beginners get together and make these small contributions to open source. Even now is a good time for you to start because Google Summer of Code. Okay, so there are some summer of codes which are there in open source, which are really prestigious. They're kind of like mini internships. You're interning, but you're interning virtually with people who are placed all across the world who are collaborating on an open source project. And like, for example, Google Summer of Code is funded by Google. There is another which is called Outreachy, which is funded by, I think, Outreachy is another organization. And these have like really good stipends. And it's an opportunity for you to learn and get paid both at the same time. That's how I viewed it when I was applying. So Google Summer of Code is okay. So Google Summer of Code essentially has this kind of a timeline wherein you get started with the project around it. You need to firstly apply for a project. You need to say what all do you plan to achieve in that project. Like for example, I was applying to I did my Google Summer of Code with AnitaB.org, which is double the impact for me because AnitaB.org is an organization which works for women, which works for a lot of good social causes. So I did my Google Summer of Code with them, wherein I was contributing to open source projects which they had. So just to give an idea how to go about applying for Google Summer of Code. Honestly, maybe I can cover this part. If anybody is interested in applying for it, we can cover this more in depth. Otherwise, I'll move forward because I think we have a lot of topics we want to cover. Cool. So Google Summer of Code, Outreachy, Rails Girl Summer of Code, Google Code, and all of these are like amazing open source opportunities if you want to apply for them. Yeah. And they help you learn new skills, collaborate with people all around the world, get good coding habits, and plan, talk to stakeholders, understand what all goes into actually productionizing code, which is really good. So, yeah. Moving on to the next topic, which is research. So, anybody here who's interested in doing research? Or has been interested?
And quickly, you want to quickly give an overview?
Sure, I can. So, if you're wanting to do research, I think the first and foremost thing is what is something which you're really passionate or excited about. Firstly, you need to find a topic which you want to dig deeper into. Once you've found that, I think you just need to kind of do a literature survey to understand what are the different types of research projects which are already available in this particular domain. What are the different types of research statements which have been solved, and where is a niche area which can be my novelty, which I can contribute to this field. Like, where is that niche problem which has not been solved yet in this particular domain wherein I can create my impact? And just kind of going through the previous papers, you find that, okay, this is some technology, but I think I can do better than this. So overall, in time, when you understand what are the different projects that are going on in the space, you kind of figure out, okay, this is what my problem statement should look like. And now I want to tackle this. Then you try to find papers around it, and then you kind of approach it in that way. But I think apart from research, my best learning from research has not been a technical learning. My best learning from research has been perseverance. So I think I did mention about 4 publications at the start. It looks great. But then I think when I entered my college, I was like, even if I get one more publication, I'll be really happy. Like that was like my ambition kind of. And as I worked through college, I realized this thing. There was a project which I started in my fifth semester, and it finally got like the Core A-Star conference, which was like so conferences are rated, and Core A-Star is like the top conference for that particular domain. And we got a publication there, but it took like 1.5 years of continuous effort, continuous reworking on the paper to kind of get the paper there, which essentially taught me perseverance. We applied for conferences, we got rejected, we got reviewed, we worked on them, we again submitted to another conference. That's how you build a paper. You think that, okay, my paper is good enough, my research is good enough, but when it goes for peer review, you get good feedback and you learn from it, you adapt from it. And then I think it's just kind of like that has been my biggest learning from research. To have patience, you know you're on the right track, keep making the efforts, keep learning, and keep taking the feedback in a very receptive way. You should be like, okay, I want to improve via this. That's how you take it, because otherwise it's going to be like you get the same feedback again and again. And fortunately, like if I have to talk about my research, I can, if anybody wants me to talk about it later. But most of my research has been on using technology for social good. And that is something which I'm really passionate about. And that kind of links back to the kind of brand which I have for myself. So most of my projects were related to AI for social good. One of my projects got some published in Frontiers, which is a really good medical conference. So it was on medical, in the medicinal space, we were using technology. So just like I think if you want to get started for research, there are a lot. First, you find your reason, because it will take patience for you to actually get a publication out. Secondly, there are a lot of opportunities there. I was just reading about it. There are a lot of, I think, summer internships in Boston for research. There is SNVO scholarship. There is MyTax scholarship, which is there in Canada. If you want to go and intern in Canada. There's DAAD, which is there in Germany, if you want to go and intern there. And then cold mailing professor 100% works, and I'm pretty sure about that. What cold mailing essentially means is you have a professor, you find their work really interesting, go through their work, um, mail them. Yeah, just mail them. If you're really wanting to work with them, mail them, tell them why you feel you'll be a good addition to their lab, to their work, and what value you bring to the table, and then also why you like their work, why you appreciated it. So I think it definitely does work. It has worked for so many of my friends and for me. So I would 100% recommend that. Cool. Moving forward, so we have another aspect which can be used to enhance your profile, which is called competitive programming. So competitive programming is essentially it's a sport, and by sport I mean it's kind of like a mental sport, wherein you're trying to solve problems and in a stipulated amount of time, and you're trying to come up with the most efficient coding solution for it. So especially for those who are in, I think this is something which can be there for people who are working professionals, people who are wanting to transition to, let's say, software development job, or for people who are college students. This can be there for everyone. So I think it's not so lead code weekly and bi-weekly challenges. They're not really competitive programming, but they kind of give you a feel of it, like in terms of how contests go. You're ranked at the end of the contest, and yeah, that's just like a good start to it. But then if you're wanting to experience like competitive programming and get the thrill of it, Google Kickstart, Google Code Jam to IF for Women. That was one of those contests which I think all of our college was hooked to. Yeah, we had these things wherein you have a library full of women who are coding, because we have Google Code Jam to IF for Women, and everybody is like really engrossed, and just the vibes. And I was like, oh my god, this is the place I want to be in, because you have so many women, and everybody is like just coding in a stipulated time. Everybody is giving a contest with full concentration, and you feel those vibes. And I think there is another one which is called Adobe Code Hers. These are some competitive programming contests which can help you enhance your profile. I think there was another one by Tech Geeks. So what these competitive profile programming contests do to you is you get a rank there. And if the rank is good, like for example, I think I did get a rank of 17 or something amongst like a lot of people who had applied. So that looks good. That's again a stats which can be used to kind of bump up your profile in terms of the resume you present or whatever you're making, however you present it. It's a good stat to have, which just means that in terms of your problem solving abilities, you're doing good. Then we have Code Forces. Code Forces is the best platform if you're wanting to practice on competitive programming skills. It has regular contests which you can do to kind of make your speed fast, to kind of see how you're getting better at it. But as a sport requires practice, this requires practice. Cool. And now we come to hackathons. So hackathons, I love hackathons. Hackathons are like, ooh, they're my lifeline, I would say. Yeah, been quite some time since I've had a hackathon or attended one, but then yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. So what exactly are hackathons? I remember the first time I heard this term, I was like, okay, do I need to hack something? I don't know. Okay, but hackathons are not like hacking. It's essentially about building stuff. So you have a problem statement in mind, and then you have a nice plan to actualize it. That's what hackathons are for. So that's fun. Actually, that sounds so much fun. So hackathons essentially provide you a way to have like get those quick projects on your resume. Like if you're kind of going for a hackathon, it's highly likely you'll come back with a project which is showable, which is presentable in a night or two, whatever is the duration of the hackathon. And that I feel is a very quick way of getting some good projects for your resume in case you don't have anything to start with. Or even if you have some, I think I made sure during my college I used to go to hackathons at least every 6 months so that I could refresh the projects on my resume. So I was like, let me just see if I'm growing or not in terms of the technology. You start with basic development and then you move across different streams. You're eventually like doing CV and all of those stuff. So yeah, that's fun. Different problem statements across different across different technologies. And I think in terms of the benefits of going for a hackathon versus building that project alone is teamwork. You get a team, everybody might have different expertise, and that you learn. When you're building a project alone, it definitely has its own advantage, but then it can also be a bit boxing that it's just about your own ideas. When you're discussing or bouncing those ideas with others, they're usually mentors in hackathons, and even other people in your own team or the other team, you learn. You might learn, you might go to a hackathon and learn something which you've not ventured into so far, like blockchain. And I wouldn't be surprised by it at all because that's just how hackathons work. So there are a lot of hackathons. I think we have Tree Hacks in February. We have Angel Hacks, MLH Hackathon, Facebook F8. There are inter-college and intra-college hackathons for those in colleges. And I think apart from that, there is DevPost, there is Hackerers. All of these websites have a lot of hackathons they keep on posting about. So there are a lot of hackathons in the Bay Area, SF, and I think in every part of the world there are a lot of hackathons. There are virtual hackathons as well if you're wanting to participate in them. And I think again, you either in the least you get a project on your resume, and at the max you get you to win the hackathon, which just again adds more credibility to your resume, to your profile. Cool. And I think a huge part of my personal development has been associated with communities. It allows you to network with like-minded people. It allows you to pay it forward. It allows you to, like, more than I ever have given to communities, I feel communities have given to me because they've just boosted my leadership skills, and in terms of just that satisfaction that you're giving it forward, as well as you're learning so much from people who are equally passionate and I would say driven. So I think that just kind of creates an environment wherein you're like, oh my God, we are not doing enough. I need to do more. I can do more. So it gives you another level of drive. So there are various communities out there. I think Women Who Code is there. There is AnitaB.org, Women Tech Makers, Women Machine Learning, Data Science. I think there might be several other communities here as well. So definitely, I would suggest you, if you're wanting to build a good profile, go out to these communities and volunteer for these communities as well. Why? Because I think just volunteering, getting into the core team, and contributing in a much more able way to these organizations helps you understand how organizations function, hones the leadership skills, and just having that on your resume also kind of makes the recruiter or whoever is looking at your profile aware that you're not just into academics, but you're also good at other things. And you are driven by a social cause. At least for me, that's just a part of my brand. So that's how I go. So I think communities definitely help you grow. They help you learn. Like I think some of my strongest friendships I've got from communities. When I was moving to the Bay Area, I had like I have somebody I really look up to, and she was the director of Women Who Code Delhi when I was working there as a core team member. And right now she's in the Bay Area, and I was just like, I'm moving here, and she was like, she's been like one of my biggest cheerleaders so far, and I met her through communities. So that's the power of communities. Cool. Before we move to online presence, any questions you have?
I don't see any questions in the chat as of now. Maybe we can take them at
Mhm.
the end.
Sounds good. Cool. So we've talked about a lot of opportunities we have and how we can make the most of it, which we'll kind of cover on the content part of our profile. But then there comes a question, even if I do all of those things, but don't present it in a way that I have a good online presence, how will somebody on the other side of the world know that I've been doing all of it? So as important as it is to make your profile credible with all of those opportunities, utilizing them, it is equally important for you to build an online presence for yourself. So when it comes to building online presence, I think especially if you're looking for jobs, internships, especially given this economy, LinkedIn is your best friend. So make sure you have a good LinkedIn profile. By a good LinkedIn profile, I mean you should have your projects there, you should have your courses, skills, everything listed there. Apart from that, even in terms of the picture you have behind your profile, that should be kind of representative of the brand you're building. In terms of your bio, you have just put all those things in place, the little things on LinkedIn which matter. Just make sure that overall it comes off as a good package. Whenever somebody comes to your profile, they're hooked to it. They would not want to go any further and they would want to give you a message. Just try to build that kind of a profile. Yeah. And again, with regards to resumes, I think my personal favorite is Overleaf for resume templates. There are several people who use Google Docs for resume templates. That's a valid one as well. But I personally like Overleaf. I can maybe, if you want, take you through an example of Overleaf template. If anybody wants towards the end, we can do that. Another way I think of creating a good online presence is having a personal website. So when I was applying for grad school, before that, I did create a personal website. I'm guilty of not updating it ever since 2019, but that just happens. You slack off. But yeah, I think having a personal website which kind of lists down all of your achievements so that anybody who's wanting to understand more about your project or just like, for example, have a look at one of those projects. How do they go about it? It shouldn't be like you just described that, okay, I created a web app on LinkedIn and then there's no link there for them to either see the code, see it in action, see screenshots, see something visual so that they can validate it's there or they can get a better idea of what it is. So even when I'm writing about a project on LinkedIn or resume, I usually try to put it up into three parts, present it as three parts. First is the purpose with which I made that project. For me, I'm somebody who's driven by purpose. So what is the purpose of that project and what difference would it make to the world? That's my number one thing. Second thing is what are the technologies which I've used on this in terms of is it a Flask app? Is it a Django app? Is it a mobile application? Is it something which uses natural language processing? Whatever it uses, right? Write the technical things and then you write the keywords. So that's how I kind of usually break down my project descriptions, the purpose, the description of the project, and then the skills or the keywords which need to be there. That's how you kind of that's a tip which somebody gave me, and I've been following it since then. That's how you break down the presentation of each and every project on your resume, so that it's so when your resumes are being screened by companies, they usually have ATS, which is just it's a parser for resumes. So it kind of picks up on keywords. So you would want to have those right keywords there so that it can pick those up and can select your profile resume. So that's what we're targeting for. So make sure you have it. And I personally feel just adding the purpose of that project validates the project for me as well as for the other person who's reading my profile, as to what was my motivation behind building that project. Any project you build takes effort. So why did you go on the path of building it? Yeah, purposeful projects I think always look cooler than just projects which are like built randomly. Uh, cool. We've gone through personal website, we've gone through resume, LinkedIn. The other one is blogs. So today, while yesterday, while I was kind of curating the content on these slides, I realized that I had written some blogs, some technical blogs, and I think that's what the screenshot is for. So one of my blogs crossed like 85,000 views, and I just wrote it. Like I just was like, okay, I'm working on this thing for Google Summer of Code, which is an open source thing. So I was like, I don't find any blog on this. Why don't I just write something? And this is not the only blog. I think I wrote 4 or 5 technical blogs during that time, and I just logged in to see my Medium stats, and I was like, oh my god, this just blew up. And I was like happy about it. Obviously, like your blog getting so many views and so many people reading through a technical blog, it says something about your profile. I've never added it to any of my profiles, but I should be adding it to some of my profiles. That's like the power of blogging at times. So it again, blogs, that's the reason I mentioned blogs here. It's a good way of creating an online presence. Even if you, let's say, don't be like me and lose track and then don't blog for like 3 years. But then if you consistently blog, I think that's a good way to kind of be a part of a community. Reddit is another good way. Then we have Twitter, we have GitHub. GitHub is like, so GitHub is the place wherein all of your open source contributions go. And having a GitHub profile allows a person to read through your code, to read through what are the different types of projects you've been building, different technologies you've worked on, different organizations you've collaborated with and work. So having a good GitHub profile, I feel, is a really good enhancement to your project. I think one of the initial interviews I was doing for my internships, and the person asked me, okay, so what did you work on during your GSOC? And I was explaining it to them, and he was like, do you have it like documented somewhere, like something on GitHub or something? So I gave them a link to my gist, which GitHub has gist. So I gave them a link to gist, which is like summary of my project. And I think after that, I was like, I also wrote some blogs, and they were like, oh my God, you wrote blogs. You're in your second year of college. And I was like, yeah, I did. And then I was showing them my blog, and they were really impressed by it. So those things can happen in interviews. If you're targeting for interviews, those things happen, and that kind of leaves a good impression on the other person, that you're not just concerned about your work, but you're also wanting to kind of contribute to the community in general by blogging and sharing that knowledge with others. Cool. We have GitHub, and then we have competitive programming profiles. Like I mentioned, competitive programming, a lot of folks do that to kind of show their speed, show their problem solving skills. So like Code Forces and all of these different platforms, they have profiles for you, depending on which kind of reflect on how fast you're solving problems now. If in a contest you have 4 questions, how many questions are you able to solve? And how many questions are others around the world able to solve? So what's your global ranking? What's your country rank? All of those things, all of those stats are visible on these competitive programming platforms. And that's kind of what makes them special. A lot of people, a lot of companies also hire directly from these platforms. That's why it's always a good thing to have a good competitive programming file as well. So I think overall, a lot of these things, when they come together, they kind of create an online presence for yourself and an online brand for yourself. Yeah, that's mostly about it from mine. Open to questions, anything I can help you with.
That was a very thorough description of each and every thing, Baani. I'm pretty sure we will have a lot of great ideas from your presentation. Let's give some chance for if somebody has any questions to ask. Folks, you can type it on the chat or unmute and maybe ask for questions that you have. There's a lot of information to take forward. So when we'll be sharing the recording, you can maybe go through each of the slide and get to know or research about what you are interested in, which scholarships, which hackathons, which competitive programming links, or even contests. So there's a lot of information to digest.
Yeah. My purpose is just to kind of make all of these information available for everybody. Yep. Now it's pick and choose for you.
I think just being aware of what all is out there is very important, especially in this market. Like not only knowing what all is out there, but also creating your portfolio according to your choices is very important, and where you want to be like in whatever a year or whatever your career journey looks like. So these are very important tips. I don't see any questions as of now. I think we can share the profile. We can share the recording with everyone, and
Yeah.
we also have Slack where we can continue more discussions.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got two questions on chat. Sorry, I might have
Okay.
missed it. So one of them is, are the scholarships usually for the students only opportunities? So are those
No,
only for
it's
students or?
no. I wouldn't say the scholarships are only for students. I think some of the scholarships are definitely having a criteria where you need to be a student, but then a lot of them do not have those criteria. So it just depends. You need to go to each and every scholarship you find and then just read through their criteria. I think it's not just about a scholarship being only there for students. Like, for example, Google Venture Scholarship. The year I applied, it was open for everybody. And I think the next year as well, it was open for everybody. But later, I think they did bring a cap that you need to be a student who's studying in a field of computer science. So I think even for the same scholarship over the years, the criteria can change. So the best thing is to just read the criteria for the scholarship for that year. And definitely there are scholarships which are there for women who are in their early careers, specifically in their early careers, mid careers, every age. You can search for STEM, women in tech scholarship, all of these keywords, just search for them and you will find like loads of scholarships which you can
And
make
one
good
more
use
thing is
of.
to add for that, I guess now after especially the digital world has grown so much that you don't have to focus for the scholarships in only your area. You can search them globally, and there can be other places which are offering scholarships for the knowledge that you have or the projects that you have. So you can just search globally. It doesn't have to be local scholarships only.
Definitely, and even for students, I think there are scholarships across different areas. Like for example, somebody who's working on ML AI, they have DeepMind scholarship, which is which is there for people who are in that field. So it also depends on your field, not just generic scholarships, but also in your field. There can be some scholarships which are there for cybersecurity. So whatever is the field you're working in, whatever are the different criteria you have, just try to search for them, and I'm pretty sure you'll find a lot of scholarships. Hope that answers your question.
Yep, I guess we got another one.
Mm-hmm.
Eugene, let us know if that answered your question. Cool. We got a thank you from her. So
Sure.
okay. So the next one is from Christy. It says, is it better to have multiple projects in different areas or a lot of projects focused in just single area?
It depends on what stage of your career are you in. It depends on what kind of a profile you want to build. In my first year and second year of undergrad, I was like I wanted to venture into each and every field. So I had a lot of diverse projects across different areas. If I'm somebody who's a master's student and let's say I'm focusing on machine learning, I would want to have more projects in that specific area if I'm targeting for those particular type of jobs. But if I'm targeting for something like I want to keep myself open for software engineering jobs, for machine learning jobs, and also I have projects across different areas. So it just depends on what you're trying to do with your profile, where you want to take it. Um, that will be my answer there.
Thank you for that, Bani. I guess that was a yeah, it was a very helpful answer. Christy just confirmed that. So
Sure.
I think those were all the questions we had. If we have more, I think we are almost on time. So if we have more questions, we
Mm-hmm.
can take them in Slack or even on the meetup group we can have the post there. But this was on, I guess, Bani also has shared her LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, and GitHub handles, right? So you can reach her there
Yeah.
and even check out her past projects, reach out to her for knowing how to get into these kind of projects. So feel free to connect to
Sure.
her wherever you guys are comfortable.
Anything I can help with, I'll be more than happy.
Even resume building, I think overleaf was a really good thing. That so if you can share that link also, that would be great.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can definitely share that.
Yeah. So sounds good. I guess we are good with the questions. Thank you so much, Bani, for taking time out of your busy day and staying back
Sure.
for the extra session for us. These are very helpful tips, and I'm pretty sure everyone will learn a lot from your journey. Thank you so much.
I'm glad I could help, and thanks for inviting me.
Yep. See you next time.